Pat Nevin, scary times. We're going to start with Scottish football. Brace yourself.
Well, if it's Scottish football, it must be a Celtic Rangers game, obviously. That's the only one we seem to ever deal with. But you're right enough. It was kind of interesting to be there. Again, a couple of things. Number one, everyone was talking about Rodgers, and obviously again, Steven Gerrard. Were Rangers back? We've been saying that for quite a long time, year after year after year. Lots of different stories around it. But I think people were quite excited about it until the game started. And then it wasn't as exciting a game as you kind of maybe would have hoped for, because the domination from Celtic was almost complete for about 60-65 minutes. It was an absolute stick on that Celtic were going to win it. You couldn't see anything else happening. They'd hit the bar 3 times. They were playing better. They were better for man everywhere in the pitch.
Yeah.
However, the more interesting thing, obviously, was how's Steven Gerrard doing? How's he doing tactically? How does he look as a coach? What is the team that he's basically got 12, 13 players in himself? How have they come on? Well, they're not equal with Celtic yet, before you ask the question. But then should they be? I mean, you look at how long Celtic have had that dominance, how much more money Celtic have had for that long period of time when Rangers were in the doldrums. They've changed the manager constantly, Rangers. They've just come back from European travels from Russia. On Thursday, they were playing at Celtic Park. And on top of that, they had 800 fans at the game with 60,000 people putting pressure on the referee. None of that made any difference. Celtic were just basically better.
Is that a standard thing at Old Firm games, that the away support would be as small as 800?
I'm happy you asked about that, because that's really where I wanted to talk about. One of the things I really wanted to talk about, because no, it's not. Usually it's 6,000 or 7,000 fans come to Ibrox if they're Celtic fans, and Celtic Park if they're Rangers fans. However, there's a lot of politics involved, but Rangers didn't allow that amount of fans to come the last time Celtic visited. So Celtic have reacted and cut their numbers down to, as I say, 800 or so. There were more policemen at the game than there were Rangers supporters at the game. Rangers could have got 10,000, 15,000, 20,000 would have turned up, maybe even more, but they only got 800 tickets. Now, that's all very well, that tit-for-tat stuff, but there's a problem here. Now, obviously they'll say there's different reasons for it. There's no need to go into that. The bigger problem is, why do people actually watch that game around the world, and why are they interested around the world? Let you in a wee secret, it's not always about the standard of football. It's about what's going on around it, the passion, the madness of it. So for between them to make that not happen or take it away, oh yeah, it was still a great atmosphere. Of course it was a great atmosphere. It was Celtic Park, it was full, it was Celtic Rangers. But it wasn't as good an atmosphere as it has been in the past. And they daren't. It is the maddest thing in the world to allow that to fall, because the interest will drain if that fervour in any way seems to be dissipated.
And who's going to be first to blink and stop the tit for tat, I wonder?
Who knows? To be honest, it's a hard one to call, because over in Scotland, if you're the BBC, particularly BBC Scotland, but anyone in BBC, you're not allowed to film Rangers or talk to the Rangers captain or the manager or anyone and film it or record it or do radio interviews. So they haven't blinked, and I think that's about 2 years. I might be wrong in that, but it's a long time. And no one's blinked in that standoff, and that doesn't do anyone any favours either. And
what's the origin of that standoff?
The origin of that is Rangers felt that one of the reporters, I think it was Chris McLaughlin, they felt portrayed them in a very, very bad light. At a particularly difficult time, Rangers have had many of them. The BBC will stand by the reporters, and so Rangers have said, yeah, anyone else can come in. They're saying, well, no, you're not going to dictate to us who comes in. So there you have that standoff, and that standoff, they've talked many, many times, but there's still no way around it. And it's a very strange thing. You think of the country the size of Scotland and how big a story, Rangers are. Well, for the national broadcaster not to have them. I am not apportioning any blame here. Yes, I do work for the BBC, not in Scotland anymore, but it's one of those things. It's the madness of it has continued for a long time. And I just hope that's not the case with the fans, because that atmosphere is one of the most special things, and that's the reason why I'm talking about it. I'm not apportioning blame. I'm saying, boy, I missed that, and I think everybody will miss that.
And will there always be a need for 800 plus police people? Like, is this rivalry still as vitriolic as ever, or is it even beginning a 21st century segue into something more friendly. I use that term advisedly, but you take my point. Is it as vitriolic as ever?
Let me think about that. Yes.
Right.
I think it is as passionate as ever. The vitriol's there, but you have to always remember it's not everyone. There's plenty of Celtic and Rangers fans that go on perfectly well, and it's 90 minutes worth of madness. That's just the way it is. And you find that with lots of rivalries. And amongst it all, you'll have the extremists of either side, and there will, I say extremists, more extreme personalities and more extreme thinkers on either side who won't feel that way. But yes, it's still as passionate as it's ever been. And to be fair, it's for many people a guilty pleasure.
Yeah.
We don't really like that side of it a lot, but you can't help watching it.
Rounding back to Steven Gerrard, how does he look? How do his teams shape up?
Yeah, it was really good. He didn't make any changes until the 81st minute. Now, you're looking down at him, his team are getting hammered for 45. And then, the second half, they were a little bit more in it, but still getting absolutely battered. I think it was 71 to 75%. Might have even been more than that possession for Celtic in the first half. They kept on hitting the bar, making chances. Rangers were getting nowhere. He was playing a 4-5-1. And you thought, well, you're going to have to change it at some point. Well, he didn't. And then Celtic scored. But what was interesting, people said, well, you've not been brave enough. Celtic scored on the first attack that Rangers had where they put players forward. Right. Celtic broke on them and scored. So I don't think he made any major mistakes there, to be honest. I think he understood the dangers, he understood the fear of it, but he wanted to have a little bit of a go. Strangely enough, after that, although Rangers were not the better side, it was a better match after that, and it was a wee bit more open, and Rangers had far more of, certainly getting into the Celtic half. And when he did make the changes, Steven Gerrard, he changed from a 4-5-1 to a 4-4-2, not complex stuff, but it was the right thing to do. And certainly made a couple of personnel changes, but they were very slow, considering, his team had just come back from Russia. But I had a look at his bench, and I think I know why I didn't make any changes, because it's not that strong.
Is it not?
Nowhere
Okay.
near as strong as Celtic.
Yeah,
so
I guess that,
well.
Yeah, that kind of leads on to my next question, really. And I'm wondering, it's a twofold question, but a pretty crucial link. What are realistic expectations for Gerrard this season, and what are expectations at the club for him?
But it's a question whether Rangers are making progress. Now, I was at the games last year, the last two, 4-0 Celtic, 5-0 Celtic, 5-0 going on 10, no exaggeration whatsoever. It didn't look like that this time. It looked a lot closer than that this time. It probably should have been a 2 or a 3, would have been a fairer result. But Steven Gerrard's brought an intelligence about it. There's a kind of, they're not 10 players running around not understanding what each other's doing. So he's structured it much, much better. So you can see that sort of progress. But progress getting them up to taking on Celtic, well, I don't think that's there yet, not for this season. And remember, the big story in Scotland is Celtic won 9 in a row in the 70s. Rangers won 9 in a row after that with Walter Smith's team and all the money they'd spent. And Celtic are now back on 7 in a row. And they want to make it 10. Stephen, you've got 3 seasons, mate.
Turning to the Premier League then. So, if you're bearing down on Alisson, even just based on what you saw in the first game, that little dink thing he did, and he's shaping up to clear the ball, already you know what's going through his head. Already it's clear as day that Alisson fancies it a little bit. He said, that's the last one, I won't be stupid, I won't ever make the same mistake again. Per Alisson, per Peter Cech, the world has changed around them before their eyes. They're being asked to do things they did not grow up doing.
See, Alisson's not bad in the ball. Generally, he's all right. He's quite good. He's not professional standard on the ball with the ball at his feet, but he's all right. So, I can understand why the temptation to do it now and again, but it's decision making. Don't do it there. There is no benefit to doing it there. Absolutely none at all. So it was silly, and he get caught out for it, and maybe he'll learn from it. Petr Cech's a completely and utterly different story. He can't play. He can play football with his feet. So asking him to do that is grossly unfair to him. Whereas I can see the point of maybe trying it with Alisson sometimes, but it's decision making, knowing when to make those right decisions at the right time. So I don't think he will be doing much of that anymore. I think he's an intelligent enough guy to do that. He will play it out with the back when it's on, absolutely. But as we've said many times before, how many goalkeepers in reality can actually do it and actually live at the top level as a professional and train with the players and actually look at home? And, you can count on the fingers of one hand and you've got loads of fingers left. Yeah,
because Emery said afterwards, we're sticking with it. He said this is the way to play. You give too much away if you play long balls too often. You lose personality, which is kind of one of those phrases that kind of almost doesn't But we know what he means. He says you lose personality, you lose moments on the pitch. So he wants to keep on taking those risks. And I mean, that makes things very tricky for Peter Cech. I'm not quite sure what he does. Because even they're not the most sympathetic passes back to him, or even his defenders aren't exactly picking their moments at times to go back to him.
Yeah, and a lot of the time they don't seem to know whether he's right or left-footed.
Yeah.
You always, in past perception, you need to understand it, even if you're a goalkeeper. If you're going to be realistic about it, and you have to be realistic, the only problem is Peter Cech won't be there next year then, because they'll need to get somebody else who can do it. Peter Cech will not learn how to be professional class standard footballer with the ball at his feet in the space of a season. It won't happen.
Yeah.
You need the 10,000 hours, you need all that training, and nowhere near it. And that's to take nothing away from Peter. Absolutely nothing away from him. But this was not expected when he was growing up. Decent at the ball, control it and be able to hit it was what was wanted before. Not professional standard passing the ball out. It's just not going to happen for him. So if Emery's going to stick with it and stick with it for this season, Peter Cech might last the season, but he won't last longer than that.
Yeah, this really has marked a line in the sand for goalkeepers, hasn't it? Like the up and coming teenagers, they really do need to develop this. The game is not going to go back; it's done.
No, it would seem so. But everywhere, I don't think everywhere. I mean, remember, football goes through phases. It goes through phases where certain things are de rigueur. And if you watch a variety of teams, I watched Chelsea try to do it at the start of this season, and you thought, oh my goodness, he can't do that. The new keeper he's not really up to that. But actually, he's improved a little bit. And the fact that Chelsea are utterly dominant in possession, it looks okay now. But when he goes and tries to do that against the likes of a Manchester City or a Liverpool, it's not going to work. He's going to get caught out as well. So, one or two or maybe three teams are doing it. Yes, City are doing it. Liverpool are doing it, and Tottenham would like to do it. So, but not all the teams are going to continue to do it. So I think you can still get by as a goalkeeper without having that, because there will be plenty of teams not doing it. Yeah. And if you look at, Man United, they're not going to be doing that anytime soon, because Josie's style and tactics don't ask for that all the time.
Yeah. As for Liverpool, before we leave them, so they're top of the table. They're level with Chelsea and Watford, which is kind of a strange thing. They're doing very nicely, Watford, thus far. Joe Gomez is definitely emerging as Van Dijk's partner. Everybody very impressed with him.
Yeah, to be honest, he crept up the rails with a lot of people, because everyone was questioning. We were all questioning the centre-backs apart from Van Dijk. Who can you put alongside him? It's amazing how good a player can look alongside another good player. And remember that Gomez has got phenomenal pace as well. Oddly enough, I've seen him a few times at fullback, and his positional sense wasn't great there. So he's definitely a centre-back. I mean, in a 3 or in a 2, he is definitely that. But I don't think there's much doubt that going forward, it's taken a while, but that is the partnership. And he'll make mistakes. They all do make mistakes. I mean, every young player that comes in, just the other week we were chatting about young players coming through, and I was telling you how great I thought Wan-Bissaka is. So since then he's been sent off, and he gave away a penalty the weekend. So your youngsters and defenders will make mistakes, and he will make mistakes. But they always talk about the pace as well as the physical attributes, and also the skills, and he's got plenty of them. I don't think there's any problem there. That's another position sorted out for Liverpool. So they've got a left back sorted out, they've got 2 centre backs sorted out. The keeper looks all right. It's beginning to look on. Keita looks great. The whole thing's beginning to look really quite good.
Yeah, and they really do. I mean, in contrast to this time last year, where I presume they were almost kind of kicking things off and they were in a state of evolution and not quite sure how good they were, there is a real sense from the off this year that they are in the title race, and they've embraced that. You feel there is a focus about them. It looks like from afar, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, they just must look at every game, and they've not been brilliant this season. I mean, all the games I watched them, they've been okay. They've learned to win a wee bit ugly now and again, which is something that I don't think they had last season. So they can actually do that, and that's to say well done to them for being able to do that. So, yeah, I think they'll believe in themselves to be able to do that. But that belief, just that word that everybody uses, it's such a horrible cliche. And I was going to say football, but it's sport, and everybody, well, you've got to believe. Well, they're right. And if they believe, they'll get every chance. I remember classic example, going to Everton when I'd been at Chelsea, and I walked into a club that thought they were going to win the FA Cup. Not hoped, thought they would. I don't know if we were that much better than the team I just left, but we got to the final and just get beat after extra time. Just utter belief and expectation that you're going to do that. And again, talking about other teams that are the same. You go and watch Chelsea playing just now, and you compare them to how they played last season. It's absolutely stunning.
Well,
it's not like the same team.
I was going to say. So I mean, you're talking about belief. Maurizio Sarri warned everyone they might lose the first 8 games, and suddenly here we are, and they're 100% 4 games in and taking along very nicely. And Hazard looks like he's fully engaged with the whole thing, and Alonso is, doing phenomenal things. Have they suddenly inserted themselves into the conversation in the way that maybe has surprised us?
Has me. It definitely has me. I suspect it has Sarri as well. I think most Chelsea people would say that. I think we know where the weaknesses are, and the problem is in Premier League, if you've got weaknesses, people will discover them and they will use them. I noticed a couple of times at the weekend there, N'Golo Kante got himself a little bit deeper to help out Jorginho when there was a break on them. They absolutely have to do that against the better teams. But that's something that the hope is, the expectation is they'll learn. But some of the statistics, and I hate hammering statistics at people because they can make them sound like anything you want. But of the 10 top passers, players who have made the most passes in the Premier League this season, 5 of them play for Chelsea right now.
Right.
That is astonishing, isn't it? I mean, you could never have seen that last year. But 5 of them? Wow. So they're keeping the ball amazingly. This whole Sarri ball thing, that isn't, it's not kind of getting pushed and it's not really true. It is true. They've got a completely different mindset, completely different thing about them. And it is back to that word. The manager believes them, said, right, okay, keep it. I believe in you. I believe in all your abilities. And instead of saying to David Luiz, I'll go and kick the ball long, saying to David Luiz, no, keep on passing it. He's at number 3 at the moment of top passes in the Premier League. And whereas everyone was laughing at him before, but he'll need to get a little bit of help. By the way, can you guess who's the top passer in the league just now?
Jorginho.
By 50, correct, by 50 clear passes.
I don't think he's given the ball away. I don't know if he's given the ball away. I mean, he must have at some stage, but I'm not making my point literally. He's phenomenally good.
Yeah, it is really. You notice that then. It's odd. You don't often notice it with certain players, because sometimes you'll give the ball away. But if you've got the ball that much and you never ever seem to give it away, it's been dispossessed once or twice. And certainly in the first game against Manchester City in Community Shield, he was. But I can remember, there's a story I tell. I remember playing with Norman Whiteside when I was at Everton, and everybody tell me before he came how brilliant it was, and Strachan saying he was a great player, and I've talked to you before about how great a player that everybody who plays with him thought he was. I didn't see him give the ball away in the time he was there, which was nearly 2 years, in games or training. At any point in time.
Really?
He was like that stunning player.
Yeah, because that would have been well after his injury and after his best, I presume.
And that, exactly, he was still playing basically with one leg. He was still scoring goals. He couldn't really move very well, but he was still an astonishing player. And that's the thing. One of the interesting things about you talk about Jorginho. I mean, it's not just Chelsea. I mean, we talk so much about Man City and many fantastic players they've got, etc. But look at Jorginho, and when he first came in, I thought technically there's a problem there, especially when you play against a Man City. Wait a minute. You keep on playing like that, you're going to get caught, you're going to get found out, and you're a little bit weak, and you're defensively, he's not very good, he doesn't read it. If anyone wants to make an effort of looking up at Chelsea's goals they've lost this season, don't look at the goals, look at Jorginho. And he's in the wrong position. He's positionally, he's defensively, he's not right, and he never looks, and he doesn't read it like Kante, someone does. And I started to think to myself, am I being too insular here? Because you look over at what the Italians have done over the years, and they have. Andrea Pirlo was not a great defender, but utterly controlled games. So now and again you will lose it defensively. Does it matter if you're controlling most of the games? Probably not. No,
and Kante still, I mean, he did it a few times. There was one fantastic one where he's behind a few Chelsea players and just keeps going, and eventually makes the block inside the area, sticks it out for a corner. I mean, he's going to clean up a few of your messes anyway.
Well, he wasn't early in the season, that's the point, because they were playing this, they call it 4-3-3.
Yeah.
In actual fact, it's 4-1-2, slightly wider and slightly further forward, and one of them is Kante.
Yeah.
Now, we do know he's an unbelievable player, but you actually, and he can sometimes look as if he can be in two places at once. He's the only player that can. But in reality, you can be 50 yards away from the danger and then cover it up all the time. So going forward, that's something that they'll need to consider and work on. If they can get that little bit of it sorted out, then you just never know. They need another scorer. They need Morata, they need Giroud to start scoring goals. But other than that, they look pretty special just now. So they're a joy to watch, and to be fair, Not always something you say about Chelsea.
No, it's true. Before you go, a lot of people wouldn't have seen Manchester United against Burnley live because the Spurs game was on Sky, so they won 2-0. Lukaku scored 2 penalties. An interesting dynamic when Ed Woodward is a specialist in failure, is flown across the stadium, and Jose Mourinho might even think to himself, geez, I don't want to go too far here, or I'll get fired for a completely different reason if I'm turning the entire fan base against the chief executive here. I wonder if that crossed his mind at all.
Does he think that much about other people? To be honest, I think he's happy to have the players on board. He's happy to have the fans on board, mostly. Not all, but mostly on his side. But in reality, I don't think he cares that much about it. It's about winning, and whoever's caught in the crossfire, tough luck. Ed Woodward doesn't worry about. Seems to argue that the finances are fine and that's his deal. Well, he's doing a good job. He can ignore the rest of it, including planes, because if they start winning games, that'll all go away again. There's no shadow of doubt about that. That will go away again. What was the most interesting thing about it was Jose actually totally reverted to type at the weekend there. And you looked at that midfield and you get the monster that is Matic, the monster that is Pogba, and you look all the way through that team and it's pure physique all the way through the centre of that team. And they just played like a Jose Mourinho team. And for all we talk about Chelsea being lovely, Spurs being lovely to watch sometimes, Liverpool, Man City, Jose's way works. It absolutely works when he gets them all doing it the right way. And it worked at the weekend, and absolutely would not bet against it being at least in the top 4 if they keep on getting that group playing together, because they're bigger and stronger and more physical and they've got good technique.
Yeah. Before we go, I know your brain sees things that the rest of us don't at times. Did anything else strike you from the weekend, or any player stand out, or any moment that you want to mention before we go?
Oddly enough, the number of things that jumped out to me, but you're talking about, the games that you didn't expect. I mean, the Wolves game, Wolves getting that result was a surprise. Fulham going in and attacking teams like you didn't expect them to do. Watford, who you've mentioned before. Yeah. The thing we always really, really want is real competition. And there's too many teams last season that were annoying you, like Newcastle for a period, Huddersfield for a period, who weren't having a go. We weren't making it a competition. Well, there's loads more of them doing it now, and actually a few of them look quite capable of doing it. So the thing that jumps out at you is, Spurs get beat, then you watch that game. Do you know, it was brilliant to watch it, and it wasn't silky, sweet, lovely football for Watford. It didn't matter. Different methods, and I kind of adored that about them, the fact that they can actually go and do that, and they're brave enough to go and do that. I was really worried last season that City was so far ahead that everyone would bottle it for them. Well, Wolves didn't bottle it from them. They had a right good go. And I think there's enough teams in it now to make it exciting. And Man City and Liverpool and Chelsea won't always get it the wrong way. And that's the thing that's beginning to stick out at me, not just this weekend, but for the whole season so far.
Yeah, good. Hopefully you're right. Beautifully done. Thanks so much.
Speak to you soon.